All right. This is a very exciting one for me. If you would have told me back in, I don't know, 94, 95, something like this, that I would have the opportunity to speak to the great Gloria Clemente of White Man Can't Jump fame, I would have lost my mind. This is a massive, massive honor. You know this person very well. She is an icon. She is a legend. She is a trailblazer. She is the great Rosie Perez, who is now starring in two shows at the same time, now and then on Apple TV Plus, and also The Flight Attendant on HBO Max. So much to discuss with her. She's been all over the place. She's kind enough to give us some time here today. Rosie, this is a massive honor for me. Thank you so much for the time.
Oh my goodness, thank you for that amazing introduction. I'm happy to be with you.
Oh, it's so great to talk to you, and there's a lot that I want to talk to you about, and I actually want to start on a topic. I'm not an actor. I know nothing of acting. I'm a longtime fan of yours. Have seen you in a ton of movies, TV shows, and whatnot. But we do share a love of the sweet science, and that's actually where I want to start because I know you've been doing a lot of media lately, and a lot of it gets a little deep, a little heavy about your past, about your work, your shows, your career. But I want to talk some boxing with you because I know it was several years ago I saw on Twitter. I mean, when there's a fight, even not like a big one, like a medium-sized one, you're there live tweeting the entire thing from the beginning of the broadcast till the end. And I know you're a proud Brooklynite, and I know this past weekend was a big weekend in Brooklyn at Barclays, the return of boxing to Barclays. But were you there? Were you at the Javonte Davis fight? Because I saw you tweeting about it, but I don't know if you were actually there.
No, I wasn't there. I came back from Los Angeles and that day, and I was so exhausted. I was like, "Ugh, I can't do the makeup and the hair and da da da." But I was scheduled to go. I had ringside seats. I was so excited, and I just couldn't get it together. I was a little bit bummed, but yeah.
Now, for the event, even though it's boxing, you still have to do the hair, the makeup, all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm Puerto Rican. We like to look cute, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't walk into a boxing, arena looking busted. Come on. I'm old school. Old school people dressed up for boxing matches, whether big or small. It was people like maybe when I was way, way, way in the nosebleed seats, I wouldn't get all dolled up, but I would still look, presentable. And I guess that's still with me to this day.
What did you make of Gervante's performance?
I thought it was good. I thought he took a little bit too much time figuring Rolly out. Rolly was winning majority of the rounds, but you could see in Tank in his eyes that he slowly was like, okay, I got him. I know how this goes, and I thought that Rolly's post fight interview was a little ungracious, because you could say, oh, he had a lucky punch. Okay, yeah, that knocked you out. It's, it's the way Tank wins. He wins with his power, but also with his craftiness. You know what I'm saying? He knew how to sneak in that punch. He ran right into it. It was right there for him. It's the same way that he got Leo Santa Cruz, who is a much, much better fighter, much more skilled fighter. Yeah, he's a little bit older than Rolly, but his skill technique is beyond. And Tank still found a way to win with that massive uppercut.
See, like right off the bat, people can know you're not just a casual fan. You're not just someone who shows up for, the two Canelo or three Canelo fights a year. You know your stuff. Do you recall when you first were introduced to boxing?
I don't recall. It just was. As being Puerto Rican, it was part of the culture. You watched boxing and baseball, so it just was. And it wasn't until I saw the Wilfredo Benitez Jr. fight against Sugar Ray Leonard is when I got hooked because it was the first fight that I cried at watching. Because one, it's like, here's this Puerto Rican icon, youngest champion ever, representing Puerto Rico, losing to Sugar Ray Leonard. And in part, I was crying for Willie Benitez Jr., but I was also crying because I felt guilty because as a young girl, I had a crush on Sugar Ray Leonard. So there's a little part of me that went, yay. And then I went, oh, no, 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 yay, no, yay. And, and that's when I really got hooked. And what people don't understand about boxing is the reason why I do go to those prospect fights, those 4, 6, 8 10 rounders is you get attached to the fighters. Well, first of all, the reason why I go to those fights is because back then those were the only fights that I could afford to go to, just to be honest. And you get attached, and then all of a sudden you see those fighters that you saw in their first 4-rounder in a 12-round championship fight. You get attached. You know what I mean? You get attached because you follow them all the way through, the amateurs and the Olympics, and then they turn pro, and then they become a contender, and then all of a sudden they're in the ring next to the champ, and you're like, what? So it's really, I think that's what makes you a boxing fan, a true boxing head. It's when you get emotionally attached, not just to the fight, but to the story behind the fight and the fighter behind the fight.
So that fight, the Sugar Ray fight, do you remember how old you were?
Yes, but I don't want to say because I'm really old. You can look it up in Wikipedia.
Okay. I mean, I could do the math myself, but I just wanted to get confirmation. But that's all good. The reason I asked was, as a young child, as a young girl growing up, did you ever box yourself? Did you ever find yourself in a gym and want to, actually train in boxing?
No. I was taught by one of my half-siblings because I kept getting beat up. And the worst part of it is that I had no quit in me. I had sick confidence that there was no skill or power behind it. And so she took me out back one day and said, put on these gloves, because we had a relative who was also a Golden Gloves contender but never made it. And she just kept punching me in my face. And I go, what are you doing? She goes, I'm going to keep punching you until you learn how to move out of the way. And she taught me the fundamentals. And it wasn't my next fight, but it was a couple of fights after that. I got the person really, really good, and people stopped messing with me. That was the extent of my boxing in my early years. But I did not like to fight. I didn't. I liked winning, but I didn't like getting punched in the face. And later in years, when I became a young adult, I picked up martial arts. And I studied martial arts for 6 years under Sifu Shi Yangming of the Shaolin Temple. He had defected. And then I injured my hip, and I couldn't train for that any longer. And then recently I met Rob Sally, who trained, Stallone and De Niro and, all these great people. And he took me under his wing, and he introduced me. He started teaching me and training me. And then he introduced me to John Snow, who was formerly of Trinity Boxing down in Tribeca. He now has his own gym, Victory Boxing in Midtown. And I've been with John ever since.
Wow, so you are actively training now, just for fun?
Just for fun and just to keep in shape, because I like to be in shape. I'm not really concerned about being skinny and, like in a way like a lot of the ladies like to be like so skinny and svelte and fashionista. I'm not that. I like to feel strong. I like to feel in shape. I like that type of feeling from it.
And so just going back, when you say you would get beat up, who was beating you up? Bullies?
Everybody.
Everyone was just beating you up?
Yeah, because I was a nice kid. I was corny. You know what I mean? I was a brainiac with a bad mouth and a bad temper. It just wasn't a good combination. So the bullies would pick on me, and I would push back verbally and physically and also mentally. I would just... it was the beginnings of my assholeness, if you will.
So it's interesting because obviously I've known for a very long time that you're a massive boxing fan, and I know of your career, and I've seen you in a bunch of stuff, but only recently did I start to, learn more about your upbringing. And I don't want to go too deep into it because I know you've done a lot recently on your upbringing, and I don't think it's fair to you to keep, reliving all of that. But, you have been through a lot, and you have overcome a lot. Just very briefly for the audience, as you say, you were a product of an affair. You were kind of left for to live on your own with the nuns, ward of the state. I mean, you've overcome so much. It's actually incredible that you are this successful. But after reading so much about your upbringing and how you were kind of left on the side, and for a while, no one was truly looking out for you, and you didn't have anyone to love you. Do you think that fighter mentality is what drew you to boxers? Because you have been fighting since you were essentially out of the womb, right? You've had to overcome and keep fighting and keep punching. Do you think that's why you connect with these boxers, because you have overcome so much?
In part. I think it's also in part that I did have love. I had love of my aunt, my biological father's sister, and from my biological father. So I knew what love was about. And I also knew what it was about for someone saying you're special. So that was the fighting spirit in me. It's like, how dare you treat me like this? How dare you put me in a home being run by nuns in a convent to be raised as an unwanted child? How dare you smack me in my face? How dare you smack me on my bottom for being bad? I'm loved. I'm special. It was more that was my rebellion. And I don't like to give credence to the abuse. The abuse didn't make me strong. I was strong in spite of the abuse. And I would have probably been even more successful if I didn't have to endure that abuse, because a lot of people that were in my situation didn't make it. And some people did. And you question, why is that? I don't know. But all I can say for myself, it was, I think, honestly and genuinely, is that someone told me I was loved and someone told me I was special. And that's the fighting spirit. And I really do believe that that's my connection with boxers. Because if you look at the really, really good, successful boxers, even the ones that come from troubled past, there's someone in their corner saying you could do it. There's someone in their corner that says, I love you, I got your back, no matter what. And it's like, even if you look at Tank Davis, right? He was down a troubled path. He goes into a gym. Somebody says, wait a minute, kid, you're special. I'm going to look after you. You know what I mean? And he responded to that. So it's like, why did Tank respond to that where maybe another fighter, probably who was just as equally as good and as skilled and as powerful, didn't? So it's weird. So I really don't know. But I could just kind of guess that it's because of the love.
Do you remember the first event that you ever attended in person?
Main event?
No, just a boxing event, like of any kind. Do you remember the first?
It was one of the, yes, it was one of the Golden Globes.
Okay.
Golden Globes, excuse me, Golden Gloves.
Yeah.
Golden Gloves. And we were so far high up, I couldn't see shit, just to be honest. You know what I mean? But I was still like cheering and, trying to see and who's winning? And then and then go to school and talk shit. Like, yeah, I was sitting up close. I saw the whole thing. It was bullshit. I didn't really see it a lot. Yeah.
When you started to, gain notoriety, I know you say that you don't like to travel, which is interesting that you work on a show called The Flight Attendant. But when you started to gain notoriety and income and whatnot, did you use that to go all, I know you've been to events in Vegas and whatnot, but like, was boxing sort of the thing that you spent money on, among other things, to be able to travel to events and not just go to the local ones?
Boxing is the only thing I spend my personal money on for entertainment.
Really? That's it?
That's it. Isn't that pathetic? Like maybe going out for dinner, or having a dinner at my house, but it's like pulling teeth to get me on vacation. It's pulling teeth for me to go on a long car ride. But if we're going to go to Mohegan Sun, I'll get in the car and I'll take that drive. That long ass drive, or if there's a fight in Vegas or Los Angeles, I'm going. I will book the hotel, I will book the flights, and come on, everybody, let's go. Even on my personal time is why you see me at fights. If you see me on the red carpet, it's because I have to go. I know that's horrible. My publicist is probably gagging right now. But other than that, where I want to go have fun is boxing matches,
That is amazing. Furthest place you've ever traveled to go see a fight?
Furthest, England, in the UK. It was the Anthony Joshua fight at the Wembley Stadium. Mm-hmm. It was one of the most exciting boxing matches I have ever been to in my life. And that's saying a lot. And it pains me to say as an American, as a Puerto Rican American, that the UK fans just crap all over us. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was such an amazing experience. And the comedian, Jack Whitehall, is the one that invited me and my husband. And he goes, you're not going to want to go. I go, are you crazy? So that was the farthest.
As far as all-time favorite, who's number one on your list?
Of all-time favorite.
Who's your guy or girl?
Of all-time favorite, you have this all-time, I would say it's Marvin Hagler. I love the way he would come forward, how much power he had. He had no quit in him. Second to that is Ali. I know people are like, oh, come on, but it's true. And then Tyson, and then I know this is a weird choice, but Diego Corrales.
Hmm.
I mean, he was such a passionate fighter, where you were screaming, from your couch, stop, 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 and I just resonated with him in a way. He just was amazing. And when his last loss, you were just going, oh, and you still were cheering for him. You still stood up on off your couch and just applaud. Yes, I do that. I know I'm really corny, but somebody wins big, we all stand up and applaud. Yeah.
Yeah, I see the Tyson book behind you, the Ali book behind you. So just more
Yeah.
proof that you're legit, unlike my books, which are as real as a movie. So you're actually smart. I'm not. I'm a fake smart. Is it true that the first time you ever met Ali was at a fight and you were kind of getting into it with someone and he taps you on the shoulder and that like it was in that circumstance that you met the legend Muhammad Ali for the first time?
Yes and no. It wasn't a fight. It was an opening of a restaurant
Oh, okay, sorry.
of Michael Jordan's restaurant, and a certain person approached me and asked me to leave because they thought I was having an affair with their husband, which was ludicrous. I am not that person. You know what I mean? And I'm a woman's woman. You know what I mean? I stick up for women like crazy, and and I was just flabbergasted, and I was about to leave, and then her girlfriend got in my face, and that was it. She disrespected me to a point where I kept telling her, back off, leave me alone, leave me alone. And she wouldn't. And yeah, it was ugly. It was very embarrassing on my part. My girlfriend, Rhonda Cowan, was with me. She was like, I got your back, girl. I was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. And I lost my mind. I lost my shit. And a big hand comes over me, and I thought it was security. And I was like, get your fuck. Oh my God, it's the champ. And I just cried like a little girl, just saying over and over, it wasn't supposed to happen this way. No, 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 no. And he went, shh. And I immediately calmed down.
Wow.
And he grabbed me and he hugged me. And all the chaos stopped. Everybody who was like trying to get me out of there just got quiet. And his wife went, it's okay, baby, you come with us. And I said, no, 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 no. And Ali whispered something in my ear that I promised I would never repeat. And I kind of laughed, but I was still crying. And he kept hugging me. And he told his people to tell everybody else who was in my face to leave.
Wow.
Yeah, and he went over, he asked me to sit with him. And I think I sat with them for like 5 minutes, and I couldn't take it, because I was just too humiliated. It reminded me of my past, and I thought like I had all the tools to be able to control myself. And it was just too embarrassing. It was too humiliating, so I went home.
Wow. From a low moment, you get to hang out with Muhammad Ali. Do you regret leaving early?
Yes.
Was that the only
Yes.
time you had, an opportunity to spend with him?
Yes.
Never saw him again?
Never saw him again.
Wow, that is incredible. Well, I mean, you've been to so many fights, you've met so many people, and I believe you were at a fight that I was just at as well, Madison Square Garden, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. I know you were upset with the result. You still believe, a month or so later that Amanda, that she ultimately should have won that fight?
I thought that it should have been a draw.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
didn't think that it should have been a split decision and given to Katie Taylor. I thought it should have been a draw. Because if you think about it, Amanda Serrano went up 2 weight classes. That's a lot, right? And she still was the more aggressive fighter. She was hitting more with powerful punches. She almost dropped her twice, right? She almost dropped her in the early rounds. That was Amanda's mistake. She should have finished her there. She didn't. And then in the last final round, Katie Taylor was holding on for dear life. You know what I mean? And so kudos to Katie Taylor, because Katie Taylor, she had the smarter, I don't want to say this because I love Amanda and I love Jordan and I love them all, but I think that Katie Taylor's corner was a little bit more focused than Amanda's Corner in regards to telling her what to do. I think that Amanda's Corner should have been much more aggressive and say, you have to finish her now. Not you're winning, you're winning, you're winning. And with Katie Taylor's Corner, there was no sympathy for Katie. Her trainer was like, listen, this is what you need to do. And Katie is such a smart fighter. She buckled down and she did what she had to do. In saying that, it's hard for me because I say that it was a draw. That's my personal opinion. A lot of people disagree with me and everything, but most people are not disrespectful about it, which I appreciate.
Yes.
And I think that the rematch is going to be amazing. I think that if Amanda Serrano doesn't change up her game plan, I think the results will be the same. And I think that Katie will have the edge because Katie is that smarter fighter. You know what I mean? And she's bigger. She's bigger. And we saw that play out, right, with Canelo versus Bivol. Yep. Weight classes matter and stuff. So it pained me. It pained me. And I know some people were making fun of me because I was literally in tears that night. I had to leave. I had to leave early. And seeing Amanda's mother there, and she was crying, saying, why did they do that to my daughter? She won. Me hugging her, I said, like, oh, I told my husband, and my cousin Cecil, we got to get out of here. I'm embarrassing myself here. People are like, I think it's so rude. People are like trying to take photos of me crying. It's like,
no.
Where's your humanity at? My gosh. You know what I mean? It's just really crazy.
Well, I feel personally, even though I thought Katie won and I thought it was 6-4, I feel like there were no losers that night. It was an incredible night for boxing, and especially at MSG for two women to headline. If they do the rematch, and it sounds like they're having some trouble making the rematch, which would be a travesty. If they do it in Ireland, are you traveling to Ireland to watch that?
If I'm not working, yes, I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
why do you think it was 6-4? See, you're thinking about the points. What happened to aggression? What happened to power? What happened to all of those things that should factor into the scoring of a fight? Judging fights are so subjective. It drives me insane. You know what I mean? It just drives me insane. It's like tennis. If it's on the line, it's in. If it's not, it's out. There's not any of that in boxing, and how do you fix it? Who knows? But it just drives me insane. And I think not pertaining to that fight, but there's been a lot of fights in boxing, and it's nothing new. People go, oh, boxing's messed up now. No, I love the sport, but I also hate the sport in that regard, right? Because it's been like that for a long, long time. The judging just sucks.
Well, one thing I would like to see change for the second fight, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, 3-minute rounds. Enough with this 2-minute round nonsense. Now, I think if there were 3-minute rounds, I think Amanda might even stop her in the 5th. Would you like to see women's boxing finally go to 3-minute rounds?
I would love to see that. I mean, because in the gym, they train for 3 minutes.
Right.
There's no 2 minutes rounds in the gym. It's 3 minutes. And it's a bit sexist, I mean, if you look at MMA and you look at those fighters, female fighters, it's like, come on, guys, like get with it.
They're going 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, equal rights, man, equal pay and equal rights in and out of the ring. Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. We're going to take a quick time out here. We'll get back to that very fun conversation in a matter of seconds. But I do want to tell you once again about my good friends over at NordVPN because I love these guys. Legit. They saved me last summer. Last summer, I was in Canada. I was quarantining. I didn't know how to watch ESPN+, DAZN, Peacock, HBO Max, Disney Plus for the kids. I had no way to watch them because it didn't work in Canada. So all of a sudden, someone tells me about this NordVPN company, and I'm like, what is this? I can now click here and there, and all of a sudden I'm back in the U.S., well, at least like virtually, and I can watch the events completely legal, no hassle, no nothing. Yes, it is true. So if you're traveling, if you're out and about, if you want to keep up with your favorite team, your favorite fighter, your favorite event, and you're worried that you won't be able to watch them overseas or out of the country, don't worry. NordVPN has the hookup, and it's as easy as one click of a button. With NordVPN, you can, 1, find a server near you for better speed, and you can connect to a faraway location to freely explore the internet. 2, watch your favorite events without interruption because of NordVPN's fast streaming speeds. 3, use NordVPN on up to 6 devices, even your smart TV. And best of all, number 4, NordVPN lets you use the top streaming platforms at a lower price. What's better than that? So grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/Ariel to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus free threat protection, plus one additional month for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, that's nordvpn.com/Ariel. Check them out. Trust me, I support them. You support them. They're good people, and they have not ever let me down. They got my back. They'll get your back as well if you're in a jam. nordvpn.com/Ariel. Please support them because they support us. All right, now back to my conversation. Speaking of MMA, so obviously I know for years, longtime boxing fan YouTube, but lately I've noticed a few more UFC/MMA tweets from you. Have you just become a newer fan over the last couple of years? Because it used to be all boxing, and now I'm starting to see more and more about UFC.
I would tweet here and there about UFC fights earlier on, but like it just seems like the fans there they're on attack mode.
Oh, no.
You know, like I remember the Diaz brothers. I made the mistake of calling one for the other, right? On my timeline. It's like, it's not that my feelings don't get hurt. It's just like, I don't have time for that bullshit. You know, it's kind of like that. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to waste my time clapping back either. It's not important to me in that regard. You know, but sometimes you just can't help but like a tweet or comment on a win. It's just, sometimes those fights are outstanding, you know, and I don't understand that fight game as well as I understand boxing. And so that's why I don't tweet as much as well, because I'm just watching and I'm learning, to be quite honest. And I don't know how to comment if I don't really know the fighter. And if you know, you're a fight fan, you understand that better, because you can get into the mindset of a fighter, you know, and say, oh, they're doing this because of that. Oh my God. Oh, they lost their confidence, or, oh, they're going in now. You can see it. And I'm not familiar with them as well, but I do like it. And I love the women's MMA fighters. Sick, just sick. And the last fight I watched was this guy. I always watch his fights with the Brazilian guy with the blonde hair. He's very wiry and
Charles
thin.
Oliveira.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's wild.
That kind of skill set is what I like in MMA.
But if there's a big boxing event going up against a big UFC, you're always watching the boxing, right?
Yes.
Oh, it sounds like you're hesitant there.
I have, it's embarrassing. I'm a little pathetic, but I have like 3 screens going on.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's same time. All right, fair enough. I mean,
Yeah. It's either that or it's the remote control game that I have packed down, like flipping from one,
right.
thing to the other and everything, because it's all about math, right? There's 3-minute fights, and then there's 3-minute rounds, and then there's in between rounds, and you flick back. Okay, and then you go back. So it's sick.
Are you will you arrange your shooting schedules around boxing events so that you don't miss them? Like, have you gone to that extent?
No, but we mention it.
Okay. I feel like you have that kind of clout, right? I mean, you've earned that.
Yeah, we mention it. Like,
Right.
By the way, there's a fight that I may want to go to. If it could fit in the schedule, that'd be really nice. The funniest one was I was on Broadway doing a Larry David play, and where the stage manager desk is, I had my iPad set up on a stand, and we're watching. I forgot what boxing match we were watching, and I would go out on stage, do my lines, and then run off when it was somebody else's turn in between my scenes and watch and tweet. And I had people going, what the fuck are you doing? Aren't you on stage? And I go, yeah. It's not my time on the stage yet. And Larry David comes off one day and he goes, what's wrong with you? And I said, what? He goes, you're watching boxing? We're doing a play. I go, shh, the audience can hear you.
That is amazing. By the way, what was it like working with Larry?
Oh, I loved it. He's such a weird man. But I loved it. I think we're both the same awkward person socially. I'm actually very socially awkward. I am. And the only time I feel myself is at a boxing match, like when I go out in public. And with Larry, the first time we saw each other, I went, he went, that was it. We knew we were good. We didn't have to go through all of that stuff, and you know, and but yeah, we're both kind of awkward, so we kind of fit
So he's like the guy that you see on TV.
a little bit. He's much more when he lets you in. He's so super sensitive, and he's so kind and so funny, And but he has a bit of that.
I have to ask you about White Man Can't Jump. I mean, to say that I saw that movie 100 times growing up would be a lie. It's probably like 250. I adored that movie, was a massive fan of it. I was a white man who couldn't jump myself, so it really spoke to me. And you guys you just celebrated your 30th anniversary. Great reunion special. I know you weren't there in person, but you zoomed in. It was on ESPN and Hulu. It was tremendous. And I heard a story, and I'm wondering if you can confirm it. So the original plan for your role, Gloria, was supposed to be a white woman, but then someone, suggested you, and the day that you showed up, you saw Ron Shelton, and you actually told him that you were having a bad hair day, the director, Ron Shelton, and that you wanted to come back in a few days to try out. Is that true?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know.
What is it? Like, people would die for opportunities like that. There you are face to face with the director, and you say, hold up, I need a few days to come back when my hair gets better?
Well, what happened is that I was so nervous, and all the girls in the waiting room, they were all white girls, and I know they didn't want me. And I went to the bathroom, and I just had a panic attack, and I just went to put water, just a little bit of water on my face, and the water splashed all over my hair, and I had just a brand new blowout. My hair is naturally curly, slightly frizzy, and it went like a chia pet. It went poof, and I went, oh no. I said that, but the reason why I said that was I didn't know he was the director. I didn't know what Ron Shelton looked like. You walk in a room, sometimes it's only the casting director, and producers or, whatever. And he was so casual, I didn't realize he was a director. So that's why.
So, and he said no problem and was cool with you coming back in 3 days. You didn't have any issues with that?
No, I stayed.
Oh, you did stay?
I stayed.
Okay. And you tried out, and could you get the sense that because again, the role was written for someone who does not look like you and sound like you.
Right.
Did you get the sense that you won them over on the first day?
I got the sense that I won them over when they brought Woody in the room. Because if they're not feeling you, they speak to you, they ask you how your day is, what you think about the script, or let's read a few lines and and that's it. If they like you, you're there for a little bit longer period of time. If they really like you, they bring your potential co-star in. And he said, I'm going to bring Woody in. And I went, oh. And I was just like, okay, calm down, champ. And I just took a deep breath. And when Woody walked in the room and I looked at him and he looked at me, I knew it. The chemistry was like electric and very palpable in that room. And we just clicked and we had fun. And to the point where Ron Shelton was like, okay, you two, stop. Okay, the audition's over. Okay, get out of here. And I was like, okay. And I went in the car and I sat in the car and I went, it's mine. I got it. Like, I just knew it.
At what point in that process could you tell that this would be an iconic film? Like sometimes I've heard actors say it's only after the fact. Sometimes it's at the very beginning. Like, could you tell in the midst of it, or was it only once it came out did you realize that this was something special?
Initially, I didn't think it was going to be a big hit. I thought it was going to be big, but not a big mega hit. It was Wesley who was 100% sure. He kept telling me and Woody, this is going to be big, mega big. And we're like, yeah, you think so? And he's like, yeah, this is going to be mega, mega, mega big. And it wasn't until I did the Jeopardy scene that I realized, oh, this is going to be iconic. That's when it hit me.
Why that scene?
Because it was Alex Trebek came walking out. They didn't tell me because they knew I was a Jeopardy freak. right? Because
Wow.
I stated that in my audition. And I remember Ron goes, "No, you're not." I went, dun, 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 dun. And he went, "Okay, well, that's enough, you are." And so they did that as a surprise because he wanted to see my real reaction on camera, which made me even more nervous than I was. And that's why I kept messing up the words. My speech impediment that I painstakingly got rid of, in elementary school with 2 years of speech therapy, came right back. And I was just like, oh my God, it's electric. Oh my God, this is epic. And that's when I was like, I went to Wesley. I was like, I think it's gonna be big.
Wow. So forgive my ignorance, the Jeopardy part of the story, was that written because you are a Jeopardy fan, or
No.
did you tell them because you knew that it was a part of the character's, persona?
Yes, it was
Oh,
part of the character's persona.
okay. Here I am exposing my lack of Hollywood knowledge. Is it amazing to you? Like my wife and I met her when I was 12. We quote, words that start with the letter Q, and "Oh, Billy, you're so stupid," and infinity plus infinity. Like your lines are as iconic as any in the movie. In fact, I could probably quote more of your lines than any of the lines that Woody or Wesley said. Does
Aw.
does that blow your mind a little bit? I mean, you're not one of the two guys, but to me, you're as important to that movie as either of them.
Yeah, it blows my mind a bit because, they're the two stars. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you.
Do a lot of people still come up to you and recite those lines? Words that start with the letter Q is to me like the ultimate. Do you get that a lot?
Yes, I get all of them. I get
All of them.
that and do the right thing lines, and also this movie I did, It Could Happen to You with Nicolas Cage. There's a line in there where I say, "Did you have to give her all the money?" And there's another line where I go, "I have wings and I need to fly." And but it's mainly Do the Right Thing and White Man Can Jump. I hear it all the time.
Which movie do you hold in higher regard? Because it seems to me like there were some issues that you had to get over as far as Do the Right Thing is concerned. But as far as White Men Can't Jump is concerned, like to me, that feels all very positive to you, and there was nothing that you really had to overcome. So I'm wondering if, in like that special place in your heart, in terms of the pound for pound rankings, is White Man Can't Jump above Do the Right Thing for you?
No, it's not a matter of ranking for me, because Do the Right Thing changed my life,
Hmm.
and I'm forever grateful for it. If every time I swear to goodness, I've never said this before. When Fight the Power comes on, bunch, 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 I still get a tingle in me. I still get a little bit of excitement and a good feeling of nostalgia, that comes in me, and my heart just swells, you know. But I don't watch my movies. I can't, because I'm too critical. But when I think of White Man Can't Jump, I would say this: it's the most fun I've ever had on set to date.
Really?
Yeah,
Why is that?
the chemistry, the camaraderie, the way that Ron Shelton directed the set, not just the actors, but the set, that he honestly made it feel like summer camp in Southern California. And it was so much fun to go to work every single day. And even one day, Woody thought he was angry at me, and I wasn't. And I was like, "What's wrong with you? You have a problem?" And he says, "Oh, you make me mad." I go, "Why do I make me mad?" He goes, "Because you're mad at me." I go, I'm not mad at you. What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Oh, you're not?" I go, "No." And he goes, "Oh," and we just burst out laughing.
Wow.
It was like that. It was just amazing. It was an amazing time.
That opening scene in Do the Right Thing with the boxing gloves, was that your idea because of your love of boxing?
No, it was Spike Lee's idea because he was enamored with Mike Tyson.
Wow.
And so that was the reason. He had no idea. And he was like, "Oh, we're going to bring in someone to show you how to throw a punch." And I said, "Oh, I know how to throw a punch." And he just started cracking up. "Of course you do." And I was like, "Okay." And but that said, the punches are so embarrassingly sloppy because it's like after he used the last take. So it's like 8 hours of
Oh,
throwing
wow.
punches. I was just like,
Huh.
you know, the chicken wings out, everything. It was just it's embarrassing.
So you don't watch any of your movies? Like at least once you probably see it at the premiere or something like that?
Yeah,
Okay, and that's it.
that's it.
Like the last time you saw White Man Can't Jump was 30 years ago?
Hmm.
Wow, there's never a part of you like even with all this time passed, like let me, nostalgia, it's universally praised. There's no part of you that wants to relive it.
Nope. Because, like I said, it just pains you if you see something you could have done better.
Mm,
You know, I'm sure it's just like a fighter. They see a fight and they go, even if they won or lost, they go, "Oh, I should have came in here, or I should have fainted over here." It's just you just think of those things.
I've read that you are in support of the remake and you wish them well. Have you been asked to be a part of it in any way, shape, or form?
No,
Would you want to, if they did come up to you and say, like, you can play like a little role here, you show up as a cameo, Gloria returns, would you want that or would that be weird?
if it's good,
Okay, so you'd be open to it.
I'd be open to it. Yeah, if the
Okay.
casting is right and the script is right and the director's right, there's a lot of factors that go into making a good, film. So if all those factors are there, yeah, and if the other guys could come too, it wouldn't be the same without Woody and Wesley.
Right. And you guys had that great moment at the Oscars. You were up on the stage. At least I think it was a great moment. Was
It
it
was.
not a great? Well,
It was.
they seemed intoxicated and you weren't. Is that fair?
That's very fair.
Okay. But did you
I
enjoy
wouldn't
it?
say intoxicated. I would say under the influence.
Under the okay, fair enough. Yes, the other stuff, the wacky tobacco, as they say, which is fine. It's now a lot
Fine.
more accepted. But was that the first time that you guys were together since 30 years ago, or have
Oh
you?
no, 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 no,
Okay,
no. We've hung out many a times. Before that, yeah. But it was the first time we'd seen each other maybe in 7 years.
wow. So you've remained friends. Did you know each other before the movie?
No.
Wow. Okay, that's
No.
amazing.
Well, no, no, no. I take that back. I knew Wesley from the neighborhood because he had moved to Brooklyn, and he used to give the most amazing parties at his brownstone.
Wow.
Amazing, and they were. Oh my God, they were legendary. You couldn't even see your hand in front of your face. Like all the lights would be off. There would be either a red light or a blue light on one floor. That was it. The sickest DJ, packed, just sweat. Your hair would be just sopping wet from the sweat. And oh my gosh, it was just amazing. And you're like, whose hand is that? Don't be touching my ass. It was like kind of like that. Oh, my bad. Sorry. I didn't know it was you. It was crazy. It was lots of fun, like till like 4, 5, 6 in the morning type of
Wow.
parties he would throw.
So you were obviously in attendance with the now infamous slap. You were there.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that in retrospect?
It's hard for me to comment on it because I haven't commented on it. I will just say that it was disappointing.
Okay.
And in full disclosure, I know that those gentlemen, I know both of them and everything. Chris I've known longer, and it was unfortunate and it was painful.
Um, I also have to ask you about Soul Train, just because. Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I just want to get confirmation. Not a huge fan of Don Cornelius.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, that's a complicated question. No one's ever asked me like that. I mean, we've had our little skirmish, but the man apologized to me,
Oh,
and
he did.
yeah, and we became friends afterwards, years afterwards, and we remained friends until he passed.
What did he have to apologize for?
He tried to throw me off the set of the Soul Train,
Why?
and I threw a Kentucky Fried Chicken wing at his head.
Really?
Yeah, he put his hands on me to like carry me out, and this is prior therapy. And like I said, I had a really bad temper from my childhood, and that no quit girl came right back. Even though he's like what 6'3", six
Yeah.
four, and I'm 5'2", and I still was like game, and and then it was because he wanted me to sign with this girls group, and I kept telling him, I can't sing like a recording artist. And he goes, half of the women who are recording artists can't sing. That has nothing to do with it. They're not going to be listening to your voice.
Right, right.
And I was like, no, thank you. You know, I was a college student. I was studying biochemistry. Like, what the heck did I want to do? You know, become a recording artist for? You know what I mean? I wasn't blinded by that. You know, like, oh, I'm gonna be famous. No, this wasn't me. And he didn't like it. He didn't like it. And, you know. So, and he came and he apologized to me a couple of years later, and he said he was wrong and that I was right, and he hopes that one day I could forgive him. I go, okay. He goes, no, I mean it. I said, no, I'm forgiving you now. And he went, it's okay. I said, I've done a lot of bad shit in my life too. You know, I wish people would give me a second chance. So yeah. And I held out my arms. I said, let's hug.
That's
He
amazing.
hugged it out, and I will see.
So early in your life, you wanted to be a marine biologist. Do you ever stop and think about what life would be like? Like if you don't get noticed to get on Soul Train, and if you don't see Spike at that club to get on Do the Right Thing, and then everything happens afterwards. If you just go down the path of marine biology, do you think you'd be happy with your life? Do you think that you would feel like, you know, you were content and made the most of your life, or do you think you were always destined for this path?
Who's to know? I don't know. I would say this is that I think I would have been successful. I did have that belief in myself. That's one thing that I can relate and empathize with fighters. You have to believe that you can win in order to step in the ring. If not, you're a fool. You know, you have to. And I believed that I was going to be a successful scientist, a successful marine biologist who didn't get in the water because she didn't want her hair to get wet.
That's great.
You know,
You'd be in the
so
lab, right?
I would be definitely in lab. I loved being in the lab. I loved looking down a telescope and microscope, and I mean up in a telescope, down in a microscope. I loved all of that stuff, and organic biology was really resonating with me very strongly too. So who knows? I do know that I would be successful. You know, who knows whether I would have been as happy. I think I would like to think I would be, you know, but once I saw Do the Right Thing in the theaters on the premiere night, I went, I know what I want to do. And that was it. You know, because even when we wrapped on the set of Do the Right Thing, I went right back to school. I went, okay, that was cute. You know, go back to my plan A. And so who knows? Good question.
Just a couple more, and then I'll let you go. And again, thank you so much for the time. I know you've talked about anxiety and therapy and whatnot. These are things that are very important for me. I've talked very openly about that as well. Do you feel at this point, and I don't even know if it's possible, like, do you think you have conquered your anxiety and you know, the feelings that you may have had early in your career, even, you know, now you're so accomplished and everything, or do you feel like this is going to be, for lack of a better term, like a continuous battle for the rest of your days? Do you always have to keep working on this?
It will be a continuous effort. It's no longer a battle, but it is an effort, and it will be a never-ending effort. Because of the trauma that I endured, you know, the chemical makeup within my brain and my nervous system has been rewired. And so it's a matter of moderating my behavior, maintaining certain cognitive behavior, and staying in touch with my psychiatrist. You know, I don't have to go every single day anymore, or once a week, or even once a month. I check in with her maybe once every 2 months now, but I have to keep doing that because it's still there. And she offered me the greatest analogy. She said, when I first met you, you were treading water in the Atlantic Ocean. And then you transferred into a river, but the river was still going downstream. And then I saw you dip your toe into a pond. And now it's just a puddle, and you've built a bridge over that puddle, but the puddle's still there. And it's never going to evaporate. It's going to be there, but we now know how to manage it. And, some days it rains and that puddle starts to get a little bit bigger. And some days the sun comes out and it evaporates some of the water again. So you have to maintain it's maintenance. It's like going to the gym every day. You have to maintain or else your muscles are going to get soft, and so that's my maintenance. I have to keep this and this finely tuned. Otherwise, I will go back to a place where I wasn't very happy with myself. And I wasn't very happy with my relationship with the world. And once I started to get therapy and understand why I was so angry and understand why I had horrible responses, emotional responses, I started becoming the person that I knew I was, when nobody else was looking. So it's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. I encourage everybody to do it. You got a headache, you take Tylenol. So it's that.
How long have you been doing that for, therapy?
17 years.
Wow. Was there like a breaking point that made you say enough is enough, I have to seek help?
Yeah. It was a breaking point. It's a lot to go into. We probably don't have the time. Maybe next time, come on your show.
Fair enough.
But there was a breaking point, where you say you hit a wall. And, I knew that despite the success that I was having at that time, I knew that it was in jeopardy of all going away if I didn't take care of myself. I see that with fighters too. They reach what they consider the pinnacle of success, and they think that erases everything away, and then you start seeing the self-destruction creep back in, and you go, oh, no. And I've talked to fighters, well, I don't want to get therapy because, I think that's going to take my edge away. I said, no, honey, it sharpens it, because all the bad stuff gets out of your way. And you see so much more clearly your target. Because I'm telling you guys, you gotta go and test it out. I said the greatest athletes in the world do it. When they go to a sports therapist, it's still a therapist.
Right.
They're still talking and working stuff out.
And there was a period you were going every day.
Yes.
Wow. That is
Except
impressive.
Saturdays and Sundays, but I had her on speed dial.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you eventually went to like once a week and then every couple of weeks, month, etc. once you started to feel better.
Yes.
Impressive. And I give you a lot of credit for being able to speak about that. First Lady of Boxing, that title, you comfortable with it?
It's embarrassing, and at the same time, I have to be honest, I love it.
Yeah.
So, that came out of my cousin Sixto always used to say that to me. You're the first lady of boxing. You're the first lady of boxing. And I got invited to the International Boxing Hall of Fame up in Canastota and New York. And I was so excited to be there and everything. And then Joe I can never say his name right, Kalzagi. Yeah, he was there, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, can you sign my glove? I love you." And he was like really dismissive, like, "You don't know who I am." Yes, I do. And I started naming all the fights and everything, and he was like, "Wow!" And my cousin was with me, and Sixto, who always first to call me First Lady of Boxing, but that was just inside the house, and Al. Bernstein, we were sitting at the table, and he had saw the interaction with me and Joe, and he goes, "He doesn't know that you're the First Lady of Boxing?" And I went, and I looked at my cousin Sixto, and he goes, "I called her that, not you. I'm the first one." And I just started laughing, and then on that one of the Showtime telecasts, Al Bernstein says, "And we have the First Lady of Boxing who's tweeting," and then it stuck.
I love it. And it's appropriate. And you've earned it. Kambosos Haney this weekend. Massive fight again at 35. Who do you like in that?
Both.
You like both?
I like both. Yeah. No. There's going to be a definitive winner in that one. Definitive winner. And it's the person who shows up who really, really wants it, because Devin Haney's skill set is sick. He's such a smart fighter. He's quick with it and everything. But does he have the grit and dirtiness and that never say die thing that Kambosos has? and Gambosis has power as well. And I think that Teofimo should have beaten Gambosis, but he overlooked him, you know? And that's the thing. It's like being on stage, right? You can't think you're better than the cast. You can't. You can't, because someone's going to upstage you. That's where it comes from. They're going to upstage you and take it from you. You know what I'm saying? And you always have to be ready. And Gambosis is so ready. He was ready to take it, and he's ready to keep it. So that's why I think it's going to be an incredible fight. It's one not to be missed. So I really can't call it.
I love the passion. And I'll hit you with a couple of rapid fire ones before we go. Will Tyson Fury fight again, in your opinion? Real boxing, not like some exhibition or something like that.
I think he might. I think there's so many boxers who say I'm done, and they come back. Right. You know what I mean? They miss the applause. They miss the whole spectacle of it all. He might come back.
Crawford Spence.
Crawford Spence. Oh my God!
Are we gonna finally see it?
We are going to finally see it. So? That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. I pray to the boxing gods that it does come true, and that's going to be a hard one to call too, because I've been a Terrence Crawford fan for so long, but I also been a Spence fan. And yes, I've been a Crawford fan longer. It's just that I've watched his fights. He was on the scene more than Spence was, and then he got put on the shelf for a while. I don't know why. I do know why, but I don't want to get into that. Okay. But Ugas's fight with Spence, his last fight, everyone would say Crawford has in the bag. After that fight with Ugas, now people going, I don't know. I think Spence is going to take it, man. I don't know. So it's tough, But the thing is that they both have this street fighter in them, mixed with power, mixed with skill. And they both can adjust very, very, very quickly. I think that Crawford is meaner, overtly meaner than Spence, but Spence definitely has that mean streak as well. So who is going to be a good one? I want to be at that one. I want to be front and center. I swear to God, I do. I can't wait for that fight.
I love it. And it sounds like you have the inside scoop that this is actually happening. Wow. Say no more. Say no more. To all those people who say, I primarily cover MMA, but I adore boxing. It was my first love before I even knew what MMA was. I'm from Montreal, so Arturo Gatti was my favorite. People get, to me, it's so annoying when people say boxing is dead or boxing is struggling. It's literally every weekend a big boxing event. Every single weekend. Last weekend was Tank. This weekend it's Haney, Kambosos. You got Usyk and Joshua coming up. I mean, it goes on and on. And so I just love what you do for the sport, for the fighters, to shine a light, to let people know that there are big events. I'll leave you with one last one, because I think you may have changed your stance, pardon the pun, on this one. Jake Paul fan, good for boxing. Jake Paul, bad for boxing. Where do you stand now?
Both.
Interesting.
Yes. Before I comment on that, people have been saying boxing's dead since boxing started.
Yes.
So, and then every few years somebody comes along, like a Sugar Ray Robinson comes along, Ali comes along, and then a Tyson comes along, and then a De La Hoya comes along, and a Mayweather comes along, a Lomachenko comes along, a Triple G comes along, a Canelo comes along, and now Spence comes along, and a Crawford. It just goes on and on. That said, Jake Paul, I thought that what he did in making the deal for Taylor Serrano was outstanding. It's embarrassing to the other promoters and network people that weren't able to make it happen sooner, right? And the amount of money that he got for those women, specifically for Amanda Serrano, you have to give him his credit. You have to give him his props. In regards to him saying that he could get in the ring with someone like Canelo, please stop it. Please, with all due respect to Jake Paul, and I met the man, I shook his hand and everything like that, so I have nothing personal against him, and I really thought what he did for that fight was amazing. But you know what? Boxing is the hurt business. It's a dangerous sport. That's part of my love-hate relationship with it. People have died in the ring. We don't want to see that. Yes, you have fought with professional fighters, but they weren't at the top of their game. The way people that you are calling out now. It's very, very, very dangerous. And I wish he would just kind of fall back a little. And if you want to have your exhibition fights, do it in a realistic manner. Don't put yourself in danger. don't put another fighter in danger, you know, and you know, so that part of it, it worries me some. And I know from other fighters, they have a problem with him because he gets an exhibition fight and he gets all this money. And there's other fighters out here who have been just putting in the work and the years, and they could barely make over $100,000, you know. And you know, you could say you can hate him for that, but you know what? It's unfortunate, but you can't hate his hustle. You know what I mean? He made it happen. You know, I just think it's just, you know, and I think he's grown up a bit too, because he used to do stupid things and say stupid things. I think he's grown up a bit too. But I just wish he would just stop, you know, poking the bear, because the bear's going to come back and just might hurt him.
Spoken like a true fight fan. What a delight this has been, Rosie. Thank you so much. Really, a true pleasure for me. I was very, very excited when you said yes. Still can't believe I'm talking to the great Rosie Perez. Thanks for your tremendous career, all the great movies and shows. Good luck on the current shows that you're working on, The Flight Attendant, Now and Then as well. And thanks for all that you do for the fight game as well, shining a positive light on it. I love the tweets. I love anytime there's a big fight, I just see the passion come through. So really, thank you for the time, and I wish you and your family nothing but the best in the future.
Thank you. Same to you as well. Oh, also,
Yes.
Tyson, he says that he'll take me, Mike Tyson,
Yes.
to my first UFC fight soon.
Oh, when's
So
that? When's
maybe
that
I'll see.
happening?
I don't know. He said he'll pick the fight. So I
Damn,
just
look
saw
at
him
you.
in Los Angeles. So he couldn't believe I've never been to a UFC fight before.
You're gonna love it. The atmosphere is, they know how to put on a live event. I
That's
will
what he
give them that.
said.
Yeah, so I think you will love it. A little different than boxing, a little more fast paced, not a lot of downtime. The fights are shorter. So I can't wait to see you there. And when you do go, then we can come back on and get your full review of it all.
You got it.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Ariel Helwani Show. If you want to check out some of our old episodes, or if you want to stay up to date with all the great things that we are doing here, please do like and subscribe to this here page. Trust me, some really cool things are coming up.